Sarah Borders, a 1988 graduate of the law school, is a perfect example of the lawyer as problem solver. After graduation, she clerked for Judge Henry Politz on the Fifth Circuit and then joined the law firm of King Spalding in Atlanta, where she is now a partner in the firm's financial restructuring practice group and a member of the firm's policy committee. She frequently represents either creditors or debtors in large-scale debt workouts, restructurings, and bankruptcies. Of course, her practice requires a sophisticated understanding of bankruptcy, corporate, tax, and debtor-creditor law. But fundamentally, a restructuring inside or outside of bankruptcy is a negotiation. By definition, financial distress means that at a particular point in time, a company's assets are insufficient or will quickly become insufficient to meet its debts. In layman's terms, there isn't enough to go around. But that is not quite the same thing as saying it's a zero-sum game. A good lawyer can come up with creative ways to increase the size of the pie or at least keep it from shrinking even more while simultaneously helping to maximize her own client's share. Sarah embodies that combination of intellectual, strategic, and interpersonal skills that I described as the hallmark of the UVA lawyer. Her ability to negotiate the best outcomes for her clients make her one of the most in-demand lawyers in the nation for dealing with companies in financial distress. You may have noticed that there's a lot of financial distress going around these days, so we are quite fortunate that she was able to take some time from her busy schedule to be with us. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Borders.
Thank you, Dean Mahoney, for those generous remarks. It's my pleasure to be here today with you and to join in welcoming you to the University of Virginia Law School. Some 28 years ago, I sat where you are sitting. I was nervous, cold. I remember that. It was always so cold in this building. I made awkward conversation with people that I didn't know while we sized each other up. Quickly, my nervousness turned to anxiety because I quickly realized that my classmates were much more impressive than I was. I grew up on a farm in rural Louisiana. I attended public high school, and then like everybody in my family, I went to LSU. I'd done well in school, but my most significant accomplishments to date included winning a statewide 4-H cooking contest, being third runner-up in the Louisiana Miss Future Business Leaders of America contest, and being elected an officer in my sorority. Not exactly a resume that would suggest great success in the law. But my excitement about being in law school won out over my anxiety, and I began what was for me, and what will be for you, an absolutely delightful 3 years at the law school. When people ask me what I like about practicing law, and that's a question that I get a lot, particularly for people who are deciding whether they want to practice law, I always respond that I love practicing law because I learned more in the last 3 years than I ever have in all the time that I've practiced law. That's always been true, but it's also true that the most defining and the most important part of my legal education did not occur on the job. It happened right here in this building, on these grounds, and in this community. It's interesting to me that as a practicing lawyer, I often hear other lawyers, and particularly I often hear young lawyers, remark that law school does not prepare you for the practice of law. I submit to you, very simply, they are wrong. To understand why they are wrong, you have to first appreciate what constitutes the practice of law, and that, of course, depends on what your practice is. If you're practicing law as a criminal prosecutor in a state court system, business development will probably not be an issue for you. Every morning when you arrive, some number of people will have allegedly committed crimes the prior day, and the work will simply be there on your desk, ready for you to prosecute. 25 years ago, when I started practicing law at King Spalding, work pretty much showed up for us in about the same way. The firm and its partners had a certain reputation. The practice was focused on a particular area of the country, the Southeast United States. Corporate boards and executive suites for the clients and companies located in the Southeast were populated with people who grew up in the same area of the country. And many of them were classmates, friends, and relatives of the partners at our firm. If you had a difficult or a complex legal problem, it at least occurred to you to call King Spalding. Back then, the training and the development of our lawyers mirrored that reality. Some years ago, the firm asked me to serve on the Associates Evaluation Committee. That's a group of partners in our firm who evaluates and recommends associates for promotion to partner. It was my first firm management job, and I was excited to be part of the process of choosing our new partners. The process was very elaborate, and it involved self-evaluations by the lawyers, written evaluations by the partners, interviews, and extensive deliberation. But we focused on one thing: how good a lawyer is she? We reviewed each associate's body of work, and we assessed their drafting and their writing and their oratory skills. What sort of attention do they have to detail, their analytical skill? How efficient were they? How productive were they? There was one criteria that talked about what is their standing in the firm or in the community. But since we were all good lawyers, it tended to be the case that the more skilled you were as a lawyer, the more highly you were regarded by us. So fast forward from that to 2013. A lot about the world and about practicing law has changed, and it has changed dramatically. When I joined King Spalding, I was its 246th lawyer. We had 2 offices, one in Atlanta and one in Washington, D.C. Today, we have almost 1,000 lawyers in 17 cities in 10 countries. We are global, and our clients are global. Our clients' boards are no longer populated by people we've always known. Every client has to be won every single day. The marketplace for our legal services is fiercely competitive. There's a war for talent. Rates are under tremendous pressure. Having a brand is critical. Client expectations have soared. Clients want the right answer or the right result, and they want it right now. For law firms, the new reality is not about making a little bit more money or a little bit less money. It's not even about making a lot more money or a lot less money. It is about survival. We've seen that play out in the market with the demise of firms like Dewey LaBeouf, Heller, and Howry. The prospects of those firms failing 25 years ago or even 15 years ago would have been unthinkable. So what does this all mean for how lawyers are trained and developed to practice law, at least in corporate law firms? First, it means that having excellent technical legal skills is now necessary, but not sufficient. Focus on the phrase necessary, but not sufficient. You cannot just be an okay lawyer. You have to be more than that. But to succeed, you cannot just be an excellent lawyer. All lawyers have to make an economic contribution. That means developing, nurturing, and maintaining client relationships. In law firms, we're not sole practitioners. For the most part, our work requires teams of lawyers that have to be recruited, trained, and managed. Law firms don't run themselves. Very few law firms are professionally managed. Most are managed by their partners. In our firm, the only partner that doesn't work full-time is our chairman. That means that every partner has to be actively engaged in practice building and in firm building so that we can manage our investments in the right set of offices, the right set of practices, clients, and partners. And so, on the one hand, you have a fiercely competitive marketplace where successful lawyers are expected to be fully engaged in delivering client service, managing their practice profitably, developing relationships, firm building, practice building, and you do all of that within a culture that's collegial, collaborative, and committed to excellence. And so we come to the question, how can law schools best prepare its students for the modern era of practicing law? There's much debate about that topic, and I am neither an academic nor an expert with respect to legal education. but I can offer you four observations about ways in which law school prepared me and can prepare you for the challenge of practicing law in the new reality. First, much of your experience in law school classes will be focused on decision making, exactly what Dean Mahoney referred to. You will study hundreds, if not thousands, of court decisions, seeking to understand from each case, what did the court decide? What facts were material to the decision? What principles were the basis of the decision? Was it consistent with other decisions? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? Was it ahead of its time? Did it lag its time? Honestly, of all the cases that I studied in law school, I don't know how many that I actually remember as I stand here today. Many of the cases involved areas of the law that I have never been exposed to again. I may not remember those cases, but what I developed through my study of them was an analytical framework for decision making that is the core of what I do every single day. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were refining our associate recruiting program at our firm, and we asked the leadership team to participate in an exercise to identify those traits in young lawyers that were essential to the success at the firm. And what we were really asking is, what traits do young lawyers have to have that will persuade you to put them on one of your matters, to ask them to serve your client? There were lots of traits that were identified in the process as nice to have: presentation skills, negotiation skills, business acumen. But the number one trait that was viewed as absolutely essential to the success in our firm was quality of decision making. Do you know how to decide whether you have all the facts? Do you know how to get the facts? What facts are relevant? What facts are persuasive? What law is applicable? How does the law apply to the facts? What issues are important to the client? What issues are important to the other side? What needs to be addressed in the contract? What should the consequences be if certain things don't happen? Understanding how and why decisions are made is what law school trains us for. The ability to make quality decisions is why clients hire us, and it's critical to our success as a lawyer. A second observation that I share with you is that the road to becoming a successful lawyer is long, and it requires perseverance. I like Malcolm Gladwell's proposition in his Outliers book, where he states that the key to success in almost any field is to a large extent a matter of practicing a specific task for a total of around 10,000 hours. I use this on my children when they complain about not enough playing time in a lacrosse game or a B that they got in a class. When they complain, a simple look across the table to them will often draw a roll of their eyes and a groan saying, "I know, 10,000 hours." If Malcolm Gladwell is right with respect to the practice of law, then 3 years of law school at a rate of about 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 42 weeks out of the year, you'll finish up with your first 9,000 hours, if you can keep up with that pace. Now, if it were just a matter of putting in the hours, we'd have more successful lawyers than we do. The path to success, however, is rarely free of obstacles, either in law school or in practice. I loved law school at UVA. I suspect that you will love it too. But if you're like me, you will probably find that there are 1 or maybe 2 classes that you simply do not enjoy. There will likely be an area or 2 of the law that you find boring and uninspiring. If you're like me, most of you will experience at least one time that you are here disappointment about a class grade, a job opportunity that didn't pan out, or a lost moot court competition. It is in the face of these discouragements that you learn perseverance. You find the classes that interest you, the professors that inspire you, the activities that you have a passion for, and you keep your focus on your goals and your success. Law school prepares you to stay the course. It's that same perseverance that will compel you to success as a lawyer when the hours are long, the challenges are difficult, and the results are not what you hoped for. My last two observations about law school and practice are somewhat interrelated. The first is about relationship building, and the second is about community. I talked earlier about client and business development being a critical part of every lawyer's success in the modern law firm. That's true not only for partners, but for every lawyer. This year on our team, I run the capital transactions and real estate practice at King Spalding. We have about 70 lawyers. We have 5 brand new baby lawyers joining our practice. At the end of the year, every single one of the lawyers in our group, all 70, including the 5 brand new baby lawyers, will be expected to prepare and submit a business plan. So for the new lawyers, when you tell them that, their eyes get really big. They just got there, a business plan, and what I say to them is it really doesn't matter what you put in the plan. What I want you to have is the experience of preparing a plan, executing against the plan, and then being accountable for your execution about the plan. What I really hope to communicate to them is that business development is the job of every lawyer in the law firm, and it starts early, and you have to learn how to do it. This is the new reality. I, like you, have often heard the classic line about the first day of law school, look to your left, look to your right, somebody won't be there at the end of the day. Well, that line's obviously not applicable to UVA. But here's a twist on that line that is relevant. Look around the room today. It is more likely than not that your first referral of business will come from someone in this room. It is more likely than not that you will refer business to someone in this room. Over the course of the time, someone in this room is likely to be your client or you theirs. In practice, to cultivate clients and client prospects, we seek out bonding experiences. I've built habitat houses with clients. I've taken clients to numerous sporting events and concerts. I've cooked, I've biked, I've hiked, I've been whitewater rafting. I have even driven a race car, all in furtherance of client development. As you sit here today, you're about to embark on a transformative experience with hundreds of the legal industry's future stars. The relationships that you form in law school will be the foundation for your professional network, and that network will continue to grow as you transition into practice. UVA Law School is Business Development 101. That leads me to my final observation on how this law school in particular prepares you for practice. As you undoubtedly recognized in the admissions process, there's something special about UVA. There's a sense of community here. People like each other. They're committed to a common enterprise. They work together. I belong to the UVA community. Much of my professional success is directly attributable to the education that I received here and the relationships that I made. 2 of my 3 mentors were UVA law grads. Several of my clients are UVA graduates. UVA has given me much, and in return, every chance I have, I give back of my time, talent, and resources. UVA and I belong together. The same is true of me and my law firm. Successful law firms are more than just collections of people practicing under a common brand. In successful law firms, lawyers have a shared purpose and a sense of belonging that binds them together. It doesn't just happen, they work at it. They work to develop and maintain a sense of community that provides the stickiness that makes people stay. A successful law firm and its lawyers belong together. As of today, you and this law school belong together. Over the course of the next 3 years, let yourself experience this community that is UVA Law School. Contribute positively to it. Know what it feels like to belong to it. Experience what it means to be accountable to each other. If you do that, you will appreciate what it means to belong to a community. In the future, when you graduate, you'll seek out firms and institutions that have a strong sense of community. and you will find a way to give to your firm and to give to your institution beyond just rendering legal services. You will be a firm builder because that is what you were taught to be in this community. So it's with a little envy that I say to each of you, jump right in. The water is warm. Everything you need to learn over the next 3 years to be successful is right here. I wish you great luck and much success.